Is your dog's natural behavior a nuisance or unsafe? Last week we did an overview of skills versus behaviors. If you missed it, no worries, I'll link to it below. And as I mentioned last week, behavior can be divided further into natural and cued behavior. Natural behavior being what the dog does naturally without prompting from us, like chewing, digging, and barking. Those behaviors are often a nuisance to us, but are natural to our dogs. They don't know we find that behavior troublesome. They only know the response they get from us when they do it. Hi, I'm Amy from How to Speak Dog. I'm a canine behavior consultant and trainer and founder of How to Speak Dog, where I help families living with dogs who struggle to listen learn how to teach their dogs the canine life skills that will improve their dog's listening skills and stop all those feelings of embarrassment, overwhelm, frustration, and worry caused by their dog's bad behavior without spending hours and hours training or using methods that just don't solve the everyday problems pet parents face today. Since 1983, I have transformed thousands of foster dogs, client dogs, and my own dogs with bad behavior into dogs who listen and respond reliably, no matter where they are or who is there. I'm here to help you transform your dog's behavior too. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and please be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the new free training episodes I put out here every Tuesday. Let's get started. Just like last week, we're going to start today with natural behaviors. Natural behaviors can be managed, but we should never expect to stop them entirely. If we were somehow able to, it's highly likely that they would manifest in other ways that we humans would not appreciate. Understanding your dog's natural behavior will help you to recognize what is and is not natural and what can and cannot be managed. I get a lot of questions from clients about things that are just normal dog behavior. So today I'm going to try and clear that up for you some, so that you know when your dog is doing something you don't like, you know how to approach it so you can change it. Often we humans just want to stop whatever the behavior is, like barking. But I bet a lot of you have tried a lot of different things, and your dog still barks more than you would like. Things like yelling at your dog, startling them with a can of rocks or pennies, squirting them in the face with water from a squirt bottle, or even using a bark collar with either citronella, vibrations, beeps, or even shock. If you have tried any of those things, let me ask you this. Is your dog still barking more than you would like? I would bet yes, or you probably wouldn't be here watching this episode. So let's talk about all the natural behaviors dogs exhibit for a minute. We'll get back to the barking a little later. The most common natural behaviors our dogs exhibit that we humans find annoying, inappropriate, or bad are vocalizations, like growling, barking, and whining, digging, jumping or countersurfing, leash pulling, chewing, biting or nipping, destroying things, sniffing butts and elsewhere, and potty issues. But like I said, all of these things are natural to our dogs, meaning some are automatic, some fulfill an unmet need, and none of them are anything our dogs think is bad. It's all normal to them. That is the first thing to keep in mind anytime your dog does something that you don't like. Is this a normal behavior to them? If so, then you have to figure out the dog's purpose for doing it to determine how to change it effectively. So now let's go back to barking, for example. Every dog barks, right? It is a natural behavior for our dogs, right? But can it be managed so it's not bothersome to us or our neighbors, etc.? It absolutely can. However, those methods I mentioned earlier are definitely not the way to do it. But you probably already knew that because they didn't work like you thought they would. So let's talk for a minute about why they don't work. For one, they're focused on stopping the barking. I know that sounds backwards, but bear with me for a minute. Two, they're not very nice. I mean, think about when you were in school. Which teachers did you like better or try harder for? The ones who were mean, or the ones who tried to listen to you, understand you, and help you with what you were trying to learn? It's similar with our dogs, because they're always learning. But are we intentionally teaching or being kind in our teaching? Something to think about. And the number 3 reason those methods don't work is that they don't address the reason why your dog is barking. Remember I said earlier that after you determine if the behavior you want to change is natural, you then have to determine what the purpose is to the dog? Dogs only ever do things for a reason, none of which are to upset us, hurt us, or control us. If you want to learn more about that specifically, you can watch one of my recent episodes about body language, which I'll link to below. Now back to why the dog's performing the behavior. It matters because how you change the behavior is dependent on why the dog is doing the behavior. For example, there are several reasons why dogs bark, and several ways to stop the barking once and for all, depending on why. So sticking with barking for our example, let's say your dog barks at the front door or window every time something passes. Do you know why they're doing that? Protection is what most people think, and that's sort of what it is. But it's also alert barking, meaning that they see something that they think shouldn't be there, and they're trying to tell you that they saw something that they think you should be aware of. When you yell at them, it's as if you're joining in with them. Like you're saying, yeah, I saw that intruder. They don't belong there. Let's send them away. This is exactly like when you have more than one dog. One always starts the barking, and then the others join in. You yelling at your dog is the same thing from their perspective, because they don't understand the words that you're saying. They just hear the yelling. Sending the intruder away by continuing to bark until they can't see them anymore is the guarding or protection part, and this gets reinforced every time someone approaches your house and keeps going. All the humans know the intruder was continuing on their way anyway, but your dog thinks their barking sent the intruder away, because that was their intent when they continued barking, and it worked, in their mind, because the intruder eventually disappeared. Is this making sense? So now that we know, in this case, our dog had two purposes for performing the behavior that we want to change, the barking, we can now learn how to reduce it or even eliminate it in this context. I'm not saying eliminate barking completely, just in this context. Barking at the front window or front door. For example, you could use a barrier to keep your dog away from the front window or the front door, where they couldn't see or hear any intruders. And guess what? The barking would be eliminated for the intruder at the front reasons, but your dog still may bark for other reasons, even behind the barrier. The point of all of this is that just focusing on stopping the natural behavior, in the case of barking to communicate something, is never going to be effective in really reducing the barking for good. As with any natural behavior you want to change, you have to find ways to eliminate your dog's opportunity to practice those behaviors. Because good or bad, practice improves ability and creates habits. There are several ways to eliminate opportunities to practice behavior we want to change, but they're too numerous for this episode. Let's quickly go over all the other natural behaviors dogs do, and I'll briefly explain why they do them, which should help you understand your dog a little better. Any vocalizations are attempts to communicate, just like we talk to communicate. Remember, dogs don't know that their vocalizations can be bothersome to us. And the big thing to remember here is that if you don't respond at all, or respond inappropriately, the vocalizations will escalate until your dog feels like you got the message they were trying to give you. Body language signals are also forms of communication dogs use, just like humans use gestures. Same thing. They'll escalate until the dog feels like you're getting the message they want you to get. For example, from lip curling to actually biting. Biting, for adult dogs, is actually a last resort to send something away that makes them uncomfortable. Those dogs that seemingly bite out of nowhere or without warning are the ones that were either punished for growling or lip curling and still pressured, or whose growling and lip curling is repeatedly ignored while the dog is still feeling pressured. Biting or nipping is normal puppy behavior until they're taught by us or other dogs when their bites are getting too hard or it's time to stop. Puppies and dogs explore with their mouths in addition to their nose, ears, and eyes. They don't know that their biting and nipping hurts us. And sometimes puppies get overstimulated, just like a toddler who needs a nap. And then they can get really crazy with the biting and nipping. Digging and destroying things is typically for exercise, to release excess energy, get their sleeping spot just right, or to find something. Dogs have no idea how hard we work to keep our yards and flower beds nice. Chewing is for lots of reasons. To process food, to ease teething pain, to combat boredom, to calm an anxious dog, and just for fun. Dogs don't know what is inappropriate for them to chew until they're taught. Until then, everything within their reach is fair game. Jumping is just an attempt to get something that the dog wants, be it food, a toy, our faces, or our hands. They have no idea that not only is it annoying when they jump on us, but sometimes it hurts too. Counter surfing is just a form of jumping, really. The dog wants what's on the counter and jumps to get it. Again, they have no idea that they shouldn't be allowed on any surfaces except for floors, yards, and furniture if they're allowed. To them, a counter is just another surface. Leash pulling is just the dog trying to get where it wants to go. The problem is, we humans can't keep up with their pace. If you are able to keep up with your dog's pace, the leash pulling will stop. It's true. If you aren't or don't want to keep up with their pace, you'll have to teach them to slow down. Sniffing is the primary way dogs gather information. For whatever reason, butts and genitals, both human and canine, carry a lot of information for dogs. They're really not trying to embarrass us. They're just trying to get information. To put this in a bit more perspective, puppies are born with their eyes and ears closed. The only way they can get information initially is through their nose and touch. Then the ears open, and finally the eyes. That is why sniffing is such an important activity for any dog. Potty issues stem from the dog not knowing naturally the difference between inside and outside, and that we prefer they go outside. The only requirement for them is that it be in a place where they can relax and not worry about being attacked while they're in the process. Of course, we know the likelihood of our dog being attacked is almost zero, but our dogs don't. Their brain still operates as if it's always possible. So that's the list of common natural behaviors that our dogs exhibit that generally drive us humans crazy. There are lots of different ways to change and control these behaviors so that they're tolerable for us, which is exactly what I teach in my Rockstar Rover Life Skills for Dogs programs. Today, I just wanted to talk about these behaviors from our dogs' perspectives. Almost every client that comes to me for help doesn't know this stuff. So I'm curious, have you heard any of this before? Or is this new information to you too? Let me know in the comments. So let's recap. We've talked about the fact that behavior that is natural to our dogs is often a nuisance to us, but our dogs don't know that. They're only doing what comes natural, right? We can, however, manage the unwanted behavior. We don't have to just live with it just because it is natural dog behavior. We can use different techniques depending on what the unwanted behavior is and the context in which it is happening. My Power Principles method covers all of that and teaches you how to figure it out quickly and easily. If you're ready to learn more about my Rockstar Rover programs or my Power Principles framework, I invite you to check out my website, which is linked below. To get started right away, you can check out the mini version of my Power Principles framework, a 1-hour self-paced digital course called From Chaos to Calm. For a limited time, it's on sale for only $17. I'll link to it directly below too. As always, put your questions in the comments so I can answer them, and I hope you found this training useful today, and I would love to hear your feedback once you've tried some of these things. I put new training videos out every Tuesday, so if you don't want to miss any episodes, remember to hit like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. I've asked YouTube to recommend the next best video for you to watch, which you can get to right here. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you right back here next Tuesday for our next episode.